Welcome to episode number 99. My favorite number, by the way, 99 of the Eavesdrop Podcast, award-winning Eavesdrop Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Curology, Liquid IV, and Green Chef, and we'll tell you a little bit more about them later on in the episode. Today I have good friends of mine from the Minnesota Rokkr, the protectors of the Ashley Midnight and also the North, Mr. Brett Diamond, Brian Cargo, my boy Brian Cargo. Brett, you and I need to hop on the phone more often. Brian and I are just we put in too many hours.
Anytime.
We've had happy hours through Zoom.
Yeah,
I've never done that before.
We had a good time with that.
We
the
did.
Happy hours.
Yeah.
You had your rum and cokes.
Rum and coke.
Yeah.
Always and forever.
Couple shots of tequila here and there.
It's in between. Only when Fuez is around.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I wanted to interview Brett a couple of events ago, but you come down with something.
It was not COVID, but it was basically a bad case of like the daycare bug. Like I got the kids in daycare, came down for the first major, and what I said at the time is, I don't want to be patient zero of something else. It wasn't COVID because I took the test, but patient zero of something at the first CDL LAN in 2 years.
The home opener,
yeah, so opted out.
It wasn't the home opener; it was the league opener.
Yeah. The last time we were down in Dallas,
dude. Oh no! I was talking about. I was thinking in my head the inaugural event of the CDL,
yeah,
which was where I was patient zero or something along those lines, because I had just gotten back from, and I tell the story all the time, so I'll paraphrase. I just got back from Las Vegas, which is where COVID dropped. Right, we call it drops now, like shoe drops, like sneaker drops, like it's a new thing. It's like where did the new variant drop? When did that drop, Matt? Was there a line outside of Supreme trying to get that variant? I mean, I don't know. All right, let's start with a little bit of introductions. Why don't you go ahead and start, Brett? Where are you from? Like, where do you come from?
Yeah. So prior to having the opportunity to join Minnesota Rokkr and Version 1, which is now our parent company, I was with the Minnesota Vikings for 3 years, worked in their partnerships team, handled a lot of special projects with the organization. Among them was the Vikings' foray into esports, which at the time was really only around EA Madden, right? Which is, we all know is, down here compared to the things we're into now. But it was a good toe dip in the water of esports for myself, for other people associated with the organization. And then when Brian and the Will family got serious about investing in a franchise and we're kind of nearing the finish line to secure the franchise rights for Minnesota, got a call from Brian and John Wilf, and they asked me to come do this. It's been an amazing ride ever since.
How is it so far? Because you were talking about right before we turned on the cameras that this is the first time where a loss somewhere else affects the win somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been dealing with that for the long, since I started. So I get it.
Yeah. So like we were talking about, in traditional sports, we're used to the highs are sky high, and you win and you're feeling great, and you lose and you're down here and you got to shake it off. What we've had to adjust to with esports is multiple teams playing on the same day, right? Mm-hmm. So last night, Rokkr beats FaZe in round 1 of the major. Like, awesome win. We're super pumped. We're going to dinner with our guys, and at the same time, we're at dinner and we're watching our Valorant team play. Yeah. And we went 0-2 yesterday. Got knocked out of qualifiers for Berlin, the next international Valorant LAN, and that's like a pretty crushing loss. So it's just like the strange feeling of like going to sleep, like you're like sky high here and you're down low here, and you just gotta, the exciting part is, hey, we got more matches today for Rokkr, and let's go.
Well, I'll tell you what, it won't get any easier. Just watch until they start piling up, Valorant on the same weekend as Call of Duty, or Valorant on the same weekend as another esport, and then you have to pick which one you're going to go to, which luckily for me only happened like once, and one of those events was like in, I believe, Europe somewhere. So I'm like, I'm just staying home, boys. It's have fun out there. So we ended up staying. Brian, give us your rundown.
Thank you, Hector. So my background is I spent 10 years in finance in New York, and Learned a lot. Was a great experience. But I wanted something more
What sort of
exciting.
finance, like stock markets and all that stuff?
I was private equity consultant.
Ooh,
PE.
PC.
Yeah. And literally about 5 years ago, John Wilf and his family approached me and said, hey, we want to start Wise Ventures, which is Wilf Innovative Sports and Entertainment.
Wilf, so the Wilf family, who are they?
So the Wilf family own the Minnesota Vikings, originally real estate developers. They now own the Orlando soccer franchises, and they own Version 1 and Minnesota Rokkr.
Okay.
So yeah, they approached me to start Wise Ventures. So we started Wise Ventures about 5 years ago. It's a venture fund. We have about 20 investments in the portfolio, and we wanted to get into esports about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'd been talking to Brett about esports, while he was still at the Vikings, for quite a bit. And I actually remember we were we were in Boston at the Sloan conference, and it was probably months before we put the bid in for Rokkr. And I told Brett, I'm like, I think this is going to be big. I think we're going to do this. And, it would be a few months later, I'd be calling him up and he'd be joining the team and we'd start Version 1. Obviously, we didn't know it was going to be Rokkr or Version 1 at the time, but that's how it all got started.
Cool. And where did the decision to step outside of just Call of Duty come from and Version 1?
I would say it was from the very beginning. We knew that we had to be in a diversity of sports. It couldn't just be Call of Duty. So, we love Rocket League. It's, a very viewable sport. And we love Valorant. I mean, Valorant's really taking off. Unfortunate our losses yesterday, but, we have the highs of beating Atlanta yesterday, and we have the lows of, unfortunately getting knocked out in Valorant. So.
And when we started in July of 2019, we announced that Minnesota was getting one of the CDL franchises. At the time, like Brian said, we always planned to expand. We wanted to really focus on getting Minnesota Rokkr right and getting our entry into Call of Duty. We didn't want to grow too fast or kind of outpace ourselves, right? We had a stat at the time. It was literally just Brian and I. About a month later, we brought on Ashley, who was just an amazing, even from the first conversation was, we could tell we were going to have an opportunity to build something amazing together. We figured we'd spend the first year focused on Rokkr and Call of Duty. Around that 1 year mark, obviously we're now in a global pandemic, in the summer of 2020. And so we never expected to be making expansion decisions in that environment. Obviously, nobody did. Everybody had to kind of figure it out. But at the same time, we knew that we wanted to grow. Rocket League, like Brian said, was the natural next step, great complement to Call of Duty from an audience perspective. And, that's an esport that we just think the sky's the limit with, right? It's so easy to watch. It's so fun to play. And we had a good opportunity to pick up a roster, and then 6 months later, we were fortunate to have an opportunity to get into Valorant as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's your position over at the Rokkr now?
COO, Chief Operating Officer.
And what is your position over there?
So I'm principal of Wise Ventures. So
Yes.
Wise is the parent company of Version 1.
Right. So this is the reason I asked that very specific question right there is because I want to give you props because you have no reason to be here except for the fact that you love your team. You're so passionate about it that you say, you know what? My job as a principal over here at this business, cool. I can do that from anywhere, right? As long as there's a laptop and a phone. But here I am supporting my team in person. So I want to give you props for that.
You don't have to give me props for that. I love being here.
Yeah.
I want to be here. I wanted to see you.
Yep.
And I wanted to see Brett and our whole team. I love being here.
Yeah.
It's like
what I'm saying is that there's obviously it's not common for somebody in your position to be out here, waking up super early. Well, not early for us, right? But early enough.
I'm on the East Coast, so this is late.
Yeah, it's late. I hear your stomach grumbling. What are we having after this? So obviously in your approach and your expansion to other esports, is it a holistic approach where the culture will remain the same? Obviously, colors, for example, is version 1 the same, purple all throughout?
Yeah, so it's a slightly different purple from Rokkr purple, but purple
we
was
have the same
definitely
thing,
something we wanted to have as a part of it. Obviously, it ties back to the Vikings a little bit, but at the same time, we didn't want to be. We were very cognizant in the early days, right, of not leaning too hard on either the Vikings or the traditional sports ties, because we knew that wasn't going to be the right approach, right? We needed to establish our own identity as a team, and we really focused early on finding a really good balance in who we brought in, right? And Ashley, as the second full-time employee besides myself, is a good example. Where we really tried to find a balance of people that came from different perspectives and different backgrounds. We had Ashley, from obviously anybody watching this knows Ashley's background, but as true esports as it comes, I was coming from the traditional sports world. Our third full-time staffer was Annie Scott Riley, our head of marketing, came from outside of either esports or traditional sports, brought a different perspective, but she herself was a lifelong gamer, big Destiny player. So from the early days, we were really focused on finding that balance, right, of different perspectives. And it's still something we think a lot about today as we continue to expand our staff and build it. But I realized you started asking about the color purple, and I went down a rabbit hole talking about staff.
Really, the purple was because I didn't want to have to replace my entire wardrobe of purple shirts and polos and shoes and whatnot.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like the homage to the to the traditional sport team. Early on when we did the first original round or buyout of Optic, one of the thoughts was that the Overwatch League team, known as the Houston Outlaws, wasn't going to be green at first. It was going to be the Texas Rangers colors, because those were the primary investors in the transaction, and it looked really, really good. And I could have gotten behind it if I didn't see an easier path of building a fan base in there using the green, the green and the green wall color. So, but I did see them, and I thought it was actually a very, very well done colorway. So I completely understand that. What is the one thing, right, for you first that has the biggest difference between traditional sports and what you've been doing and the culture within video games that you noticed right away?
Yeah, I would say it's probably the truly direct interactions with the fans. That one-to-one, and that was something that was important to us from day one. Was and this is very Gary V style, right? Like we talked about the Wilfs as our ownership. We obviously have Gary V in the mix too. Your good friend.
Yep.
But really, that interaction, it's so real and it's so true, right? And that's one of the things I'm really excited about tomorrow when we've got fans in the building, is just having a chance to see Rokkr fans at an away event. Gives me chills. Yeah. Or we had our first watch party post-COVID a couple weeks ago, and a bar full of Rokkr fans just chanting "Let's go Rock!" It's just
feels good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's an amazing feeling. But that's something that really stands out as a big difference from traditional sports. With a traditional sports team, they're all about building a fan base and a brand and all of those things, but very few of them think about that true, Brian as a fan, or that level of interaction, and especially for a team and a brand, an esports brand as new as ours, right? That has to be a part of our core of building a community and a fan base. And we have a saying, we're building it one fan at a time. That literally, any interaction with a fan is.
Mm-hmm. Have you learned anything from esports that you have suggested to the traditional sports team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. A couple months ago, when we were in Iceland for the Valorant tournament, I was talking to some people there, and they asked me that question. And what I said, what I thought at the time we would start to see over time in traditional sports is more of watch party type content, right? Mm-hmm. That stuff that happens very naturally in esports. It's incredibly popular. You've started to see Twitch and Amazon dabbling in a little bit with some NFL events, and I think there's more going on with the Olympics now. But a couple weeks ago, ESPN announced they're going to do a second broadcast of Monday Night Football with Eli and Peyton Manning. And I think that's going to like crush it for any football fan to be able to turn on and watch those guys just talk about the game. Like those are the kinds of things that esports has been doing and gaming has been doing for years. And I think just now, like traditional sports and big media are starting to pay more attention to things like that.
Cool. Now, a question for you, for parent company, man.
Yes.
Why esports? Obviously, you know, development, then traditional sports. That's if you get to that certain level, owning a sports franchise, that's obviously like a passion thing. Where did the esports thing come from? Well,
I mean, look, I think it's a part of a diversification. A wise man once told me that diversify. And if you look at the assets that the Will family currently have, they have NFL, MLS, and you need something that's up and coming and new. And I think it's just such an incredible growth in the industry. It's engaging. It's with the right demographic of individuals, and we enjoy it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, don't invest in something you don't enjoy. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
What's been fun about it for me as like the traditional New York finance guy is that, especially someone who invests in venture, I'm dealing with startups all the time, and we're investing in companies that are trying to get themselves off the ground. And most people would say, well, you don't know what it's like being the founder of a business or starting a business from scratch and whatnot. And it's like, no, we've done that.
Yeah.
Like literally when we started, when it was just Rokkr, like I was clicking payroll, like I was doing all of those things.
Yeah.
And so you're literally starting something from scratch was honestly the most rewarding aspect of it. And so now when I'm looking at things from a venture perspective, it's nice to be able to say, no, I've been in your shoes. I'm not totally, totally removed from that mentality and the struggles that you go through. Slightly different, but still.
Man, same question to you about the difference between, or what you've learned from esports that you've applied into your other stuff that you have going on. Because you mentioned you guys have an investment in Tonal too.
We do have an investment
I was
in Tonal.
just using it this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
You have one, right?
Yeah, I do. Every morning.
It's a great product.
Yeah.
We're plugging Tonal right now.
Yeah, shout out Tonal.
Ollie,
get one.
Ollie.
Actually, if you can, there was like sold out for like 6 months. We couldn't get our delivery came in like 6 months after my wife made the purchase.
You should have called me. I would have.
I didn't know. Like, what else? Jack's Pizza? Do you have any ownership in that?
We do not have anything
I am
in pizza.
out of Jack's frozen pizza right now. That's my favorite pizza. And I'm talking about my favorite pizza. I'm not talking about my favorite frozen pizza. No. Just overall holistically pizza. Yes, I'm from Chicago, but for some reason I love eating the cheap shit that we used to eat as a kid.
Wait, what's your Chicago pizza of choice?
Joe's Pizza in Wheeling, Illinois. It's not deep dish.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of deep dish, but if you're in Buffalo Grove, Milwaukee area, Milwaukee was I forget where, but in Wheeling, Illinois. Shout out to Wheeling, Illinois, 60090. Ooh, ooh. If you go to Dundee and Wolf, or Don Wolf, as we know, there's a Joe's Pizzeria, tiny little hole in the wall part right next to a Jiffy Lube and right next to the Mexican store. I don't even know what the Mexican store is called, but we just call it the Mexican store. But man, that pizza is so fire. Yeah. If you guys call and order, say that Hector sent you. That way, when I call them, hey, I'm Hector, they can give me like some free shit next time I'm in town.
I might be in there in the fall. I'm gonna have to check. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. Where are you staying?
Not sure yet. Just trying to get. I've got a couple things I want to just try to get to Chicago for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Wheeling is like 35 minutes outside of Chicago, so I don't know if they'll deliver that far.
Is it in the direction of Minnesota? Because if I'm driving,
no.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
My dad's from Wheaton, Illinois.
Wheaton, cool.
Yeah, and I have cousins and uncles that
Very
live
familiar.
there. Yeah. They're big Lou Malnati's.
Lou Malnati's. Yeah, my wife also is a big fan. I think, don't get mad, baby. I think it's Lou Malnati's, but it also might be Garibaldi's, but it also might be like all the other good ones. Don't get me wrong.
You got like Gino's East.
Gino's East is really good.
Yeah.
There used to be a The thing about traditional Chicago food is that they're such snobs. Like these foodies from Chicago are the worst snobs ever. You know, like my villains crew, like my graffiti crew, they're all haters, man. They just hate everything, right? Like they hate food. They don't like anything that isn't like Chicago based. They don't. I love ketchup on my hot dog, and no one's gonna tell me not to put ketchup on my hot dog. Like all these rules that people make up are just like, shut up. Like let them eat. Like you're not eating it. Shut up. Who cares? You know, like I remove onions from my hot dogs. Sue me. You know, it's like that. So I will say this, and I've said it again. I'll continue to say it. Had I known that Dallas didn't have Mexican food, real tacos, real Mexican tacos, the way that Chicago does, or the way that Austin does, or the way that, you know, San Antonio does, that isn't like 90-minute drive away, like I would totally have moved somewhere else. I would have moved to Austin, or I would have moved to San Antonio, or maybe even Houston, right? But I didn't know that Dallas sucked on the taco department, man. It's bad. So if anyone has like a fire taco, not spot, but business that you guys want to move to Frisco, let me know, because I need some fire near me. And right now we don't have that. How's the food out there in Minnesota?
Pretty good, you know. I mean, I've got little kids, so like I'm like doing the chain restaurants and all that stuff. They need to get older for me to get like branch out and actually go to good places again. Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, you got to come up to Minnesota and have dinner. We got to go to Manny's for steak.
Okay.
Best steakhouse in Minnesota.
Manny's?
Manny's.
Okay.
Literally like a bludgeon of beef. I mean, it's amazing. It's a good spot. I can't believe we didn't do dinner when you were there for CDL launch weekend.
I was sick for 3 days.
That's right.
So
you were sick.
Yeah, because I had COVID. We landed on a Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, no, we landed on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday it hit me. On Thursday is when Tuesday it hit me. Wednesday was the worst, and on Thursday when Kobe Bryant passed away was when it really hit me the worst. And then the following day I was just like, I stayed in. The Friday I stayed in. I had to go do the pre-show or one of the shows with Gary. Yep. So I was already by then I had already been like through it. So like I took a shower, I mustered up the courage to get out there, got out there and started shaking hands with fans, hugging everybody, sneezing on everyone, coughing on everyone, you know. And that to me was like, if there was, that's the one thing, right? Like if you guys attended the dope, by the way, awesome venue, congratulations. We haven't had a chance to tell you guys in person. It was a really, really good event, good experience, but I don't know how many people got sick from there, because if I got sick and I was right next to Gary, you know, and Gary's a kisser, as you know, right? So if he didn't get sick, and he obviously shook way more hands than I did, you know what I'm saying? So if I was sick, I gave it to him, and then he gave it to everybody. Guys, just know it was Gary, not me. I gave it to him. What happened after that? Chain of custody. Okay, the chain of custody of COVID. I don't know. How's it been working with my man Gary?
Gary's the best. I mean, that was like an amazing week. We then went down afterward to Miami for Super Bowl week. So if we didn't get COVID from you, like, I don't know how we didn't get it in Miami. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I've known Gary close to like 20 years now.
Wow.
And Gary's just, I mean, he's the life of the party. I mean, just, you know, it's such a pleasure working with him. And, you know, his energy is just, it fills the room, right? Like, you know, he really, you know, cares about people on a personal level. And he just is such a, you know, energy that's just, you know, completely takes over a conversation in a good way.
Yeah.
And obviously, how do you guys originally know each other?
So I was watching, I watch podcasts, right? I wanted to get into podcasting right away. So I was just looking at business podcasts, just podcasts in general. I'd come across his content like a bunch of times, but the one time that he really stuck to me was when he appeared in Casey Neistat's vlogs way back when. And something about the way that he talked that I sort of like I'm like, man, that dude like not only knows what's up, because everything that he was saying, I've been thinking as like, and things to apply to esports. And then the way that he was talking, just like didn't give a shit about either swearing or just like being forward. And that's very much my vibe. And, those two combinations are like, this dude's that, right? And then when I saw that he was talking about Twitch and all this stuff, I don't know how I even reached out, but I may have reposted some of his stuff, and then he hit me up. And one time he was going to Chicago, and I'm like, yo, I'm in Chicago. And then he's like, come meet me. So I got in the car, and I went all the way down to Chicago from the suburbs, and I waited for him. And we just the second that we just sat down, it was like all go from there. Like I got mic'd up immediately, and we just like sort of started talking, and then people will come up and start saying hello to him, and like I'm like man, this dude has really transcended this level of there's internet popularity, which what the level that I consider myself in, and then there's like fame, right? And I think that he had already, he was already there. And when I started doing research on the stuff that he had done in the past, like being so ahead of the time, way back when, like Wine Library, for example, right? Like that sort of like forward thinking is like, that's like the number, that's like a gravitational pull for me. Like I want to talk to those people that can predict the future, because I consider myself a future teller myself. So when I see people that have been there longer and thought about things differently that way, I was just like, all right. And we sort of hit it off, and we kept in contact. We stayed in touch, and it was just a thing. When he said that he was going to invest in Call of Duty, I was like, whoa, time out. Why them? Why didn't you come to me first? And then he's like, oh, I've known the Wills for a very, very, very long time. And I was like, all right, come and give you a pass. But because at first I was like, whoa, like we're boys and shit, like what? And then he goes and does a press conference like, fuck Chicago. I was like, oh hell yeah, fucking. I was like, okay, Gary, okay, we're gonna do it like that, cool. And then I don't know. We have very similar personalities. We're all go every single waking moment. Although I've calmed down a little bit more just in the afternoons. After like 5 o'clock, I've given myself that break, right? Like I mean, I say that. And last night I was on the phone from 7:30 to like 9 on 2 different meetings. But then I don't mind it. Conversations is like the easiest thing. When you come like from you guys, right? Like when you come from traditional 9 to 5 corporate America, you see that this is not work. You know what I'm saying? This is fun, and you get to apply the shit that whether spreadsheets or whatever from the past. Like it doesn't even feel like work, right? And this atmosphere, because of the fans, are like, this is your job right now, right? We're doing a job right now. How cool is that, right? Obviously, you said that you were actually. We're gonna get back. I'm gonna ask you about your previous job at the Vikings, but first we're gonna say hello to the sponsors really quickly. Our first sponsor for the first time ever, Green Chef, and I just had a couple of their meals actually literally yesterday, and they were good. I can see myself eating that as my lunch. Green Chef lets you choose from a wide array of easy to follow recipes to perfect keto. Okay? Ketosis. You guys can probably tell by my physique that I practice. Keto, paleo, and plant-powered diets, or even if you just want to eat in a more balanced way. Green Chef's expert chefs design flavorful recipes that go way beyond ordinary for a diverse array of meal plans. And plenty of options for you to choose from each week, right? You make leading a healthier lifestyle easier than ever with satisfying home-cooked dinners, right? With options that work around your lifestyle, not the other way around. Right. As I said, I had the veggies with steak recently, twice, right back to back, because that's what tasted really, really good. So I said, you know what? Let's not get fancy. Let's just have 2 of the same things back to back. Right. I actually prepared that by myself. I was gonna see if Olivia wanted to cook with me, but I figured I'd just get to it like super quickly and super easy, and that's what I ended up doing, right? If you go to greenchef.com/H3CZ100 and use code H3CZ100 to get $100 off your first order, including free shipping. Okay, so go to greenchef.com/H3CZ100 and use code H3CZ100 to get $100 off, including free shipping. All right, like who doesn't like free shipping and free food? In the last month or so, I've dropped 10 pounds. I don't like to talk about it because real G's move in silence like champagne, right? So I've been watching what I eat, and this is just going to make it that much easier for me to continue to improve the incredible physique that's already there into a much more, flavorful physique. You know, look, I do it for Jude. All right, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I don't do it for you guys. You guys love me no matter what. Jude too, I guess, but you know what I'm saying. The next sponsor of the podcast this week is Liquid IV, and I got to tell you, I have used this in the past, okay? So there's my disclaimer. I've used it in the past. Hangovers, by the time that you get to be 41 years old, well, 39, 40, at the time that I was drinking that regularly, become that much harder just because your body doesn't, age well. No one does. But again, if I do have those, like, for example, hot summer months, as we do here in Texas, and we're out there drinking, we're out there having fun and doing all that, hydration is something that you cannot take good enough care about. So the hot summer months are here, and we need to be proactive to keep our body fueled up and hydrated. Making hydration a priority helps us feel healthier on a day-to-day basis and fuels us to be at our highest potential, right? One stick of Liquid IV in a 16-ounce bottle of water hydrates you faster and more efficiently than water alone. Not only that, but the product tastes great with flavors like watermelon, strawberry, and lemon lime. Strawberry is the one for me. I don't know what it is about it, but in the morning, after like the headache's pounding and your body's aching, you take one sip of that, you go back to sleep for maybe 15 minutes, and you're back and at it again. Lately, I've been using it after my workout, in between my workout and my shower, just because that's like the place where I feel like I can pound a glass of water with the Liquid IV as quickly as possible. And guess what? By the time that I got a shower, not only am I steaming and clean, I am also hydrated and ready to hit the ground running. This morning, for example, I was running late, and guess who made me run even later? Josefo, because he wanted to trip over here, and I was almost late from a podcast. Either way, it ended up being good. All right, listen here, okay? Liquid IV hydrates you faster and more efficiently than water alone. We said that, right? But here's why. It contains 5 essential vitamins, more vitamin C than orange, and as much potassium as a banana. Healthier than sugary sports drinks, no artificial flavors or preservatives, and less sugar than an apple. Made with clean ingredients, non-GMO, vegan, and free of gluten, dairy, and soy. Right? The optimal ratio of glucose, sodium, and potassium delivers waters and nutrients to the bloodstream quicker. That's what makes it so effective, right? It's a perfect balance to help you hydrate more quickly and effectively than water alone. The company, check this out, this is important. The company is donating 4 million servings in response to COVID-19. Products are being donated to hospitals, first responders, food banks, veterans, and the active military. Shout out to them. Thank you so much for supporting the troops. Liquid IV has donated over 11 million serving globally already. And right now, you can grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get $25 off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code H3CZ at checkout. That is liquidiv.com and using code HECZ, H3CZ, at checkout, 25% off anything you order. You don't just have to order one box. You can order a bunch of boxes so you can be good for the rest of the year. And right now, listen, get it out of the way. Don't order one pack. Just get it all out of the way. Just calculate how many bottles of water you're going to drink from here until the end of the year and just get that. It's the best way to do it. So again, that is 25% off of anything you order when you get better hydration today by using promotional code H3CC at checkout at liquidiv.com. Remember, 25% off H3CC. And last but not least, Curology, being the last sponsor of today's podcast. They've come around many a time, so appreciate their return. Let me paraphrase, okay? Let me tell you exactly what is going on. Curology makes skin care effortless. Look at this skin. You can tell 41, you cannot. They create custom skincare formula for your skin goals. Plus, they've got cleanser, moisturizer that are easy on your skin and super easy to use. Everything ships right through your door, and for the first 30 days are free. You just cover $5 for shipping and handling. Sign up for Curology in minutes by sharing your skin type and skin goals. And licensed dermatologist provider can create a custom formula made for you, like one personalized formula that's all for you. Whether you're struggling with acne, dark spots, or just want something simple and straightforward. They've also got some amazing products that you can do and add to your subscription. An acne body wash, emergency spot patches, so you can do it up or keep it simple. Right? For me, it's every single night before I go to bed. A cold water face wash, and then I apply my moisturizer, and then I go to sleep. Okay, those are my secrets. I've been doing that for a long time though, so take it from me, it's better when you start today. Don't wait until you're 35. Don't wait until you're 36. Don't wait until you're 41 like me, okay? Do what I did. Start at the ripe age of 29 or younger. Your skin's not going to look like that forever, okay? The one thing that I wish I would have done is, start exercising a lot sooner. But I love food. I love food. But my skin, flawless. You're welcome. Go to Curology.com/H3CZ for a free 30-day trial. Just pay for shipping and handling. That is Curology.com/H3CZ to unlock your first 30-day trials absolutely free, minus shipping. And then you see Curology.com for all the details. I'm going to give it to you one more time for the people in the back that missed out on the first time. That's Curology.com H3CZ for a first free 30-day trial. Just pay for shipping and handling. Back to my man Brad and my man Brian. And we are back again. Huge shout out to the sponsors. Thank you for backing the podcast. What are you doing? Thank you for all you guys who watch it and click the links down below. You guys don't realize how much you even clicking on the link helps them coming back and supporting the show that they do. How else am I going to pay for Maddie back there and Josefo and Roger? I want to say this, though. Take a quick moment to give my 3-man army of content producers that have been awarded or have been nominated on three things. Matt, 3 or 4? Is it 4? Does my content creator work, or is that mine? No, it's mine. So obviously 3 things. The Eavesdrop Podcast got nominated again for Content Series of the Year. The Process is right now nominated for Content Series of the Year. I say don't vote for Eavesdrop. Vote for that one. The Eavesdrop already won last year. The Process is the one that I think should win. But more than anything, Josefo, Matt, and Roger, who's sleeping right now probably, congratulations. Well deserved. 3-man army, baby. Let's get it. Let's start with your old job. How did you get into, how did you land? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Minnesota, but I went to college on the East Coast and then got a job with the NFL out of college. I was fortunate. I had a few internships.
Paid?
Yes, not paid a lot, but paid a little bit of a stipend. With the Baltimore Ravens, and then got an internship with the NFL league office.
Mm-hmm. Did you run into Johanna back in those days?
Yeah, Johanna and I actually worked closely together for a number of years.
Shout out Johanna Ferris.
Absolutely. I've got some funny stories of just over the course of the past couple of years. Every once in a while, her and I would just pause it. We'd be in a pretty serious conversation and say, Can you imagine if you went back in time and told our 2012 selves that we'd be having the conversation we just had? But
yeah.
So I was fortunate to get an internship out of college with the NFL at the league level, based out of their New York office. It was in the department that does player contract administration and salary cap administration, and CBA negotiations and all that. So I was just an intern. So I'm data entry and just helping where I can help. But it's actually interesting because at the time that was a career path I was interested in traditional sports. And then I took a different path, which we'll talk about in a second, and didn't think I was ever going to touch those things again. And then fast forward 15 years, and now suddenly we're doing player contracts and working, I'm kind of drawing on those experiences as an intern from 15 years prior, as we think about some of the legal and administrative things that go into putting any sort of a team together from a contractual standpoint. But anyway, that's the boring part of it. So after my internships, I was fortunate to get an opportunity in the NFL events department and spent 11 years there working on basically all the big events the NFL does: the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, international games, draft. And started very much on operations and logistical roles and sides of events, and then gradually started to get more involved in the business and marketing side of the NFL's big events, which eventually led me to the Vikings after 11 years.
Do you miss it?
There's no part of me that looks back. I'm very much a forward-looking person. Anytime, come Super Bowl time, there's a part of me that misses that rush. Those were some of the craziest things I've been involved in. I mean, that's 6 weeks of 18, 19-hour days, and just something as big as the Super Bowl. There's so many moving pieces. The intensity on every single thing with an event like that is enormous. Anybody that touches it, any of the sponsors, broadcasters, teams, celebrity, it's the most important part of the year for so many people in the sporting industry. I just learned a tremendous amount about the business from working on those events, and even just being in proximity to things that I wasn't directly involved in, being able to sit in, for example, on like the broadcast network production meetings for something like the Super Bowl. Like I'm a fly on the wall, and I get maybe one question in a 2-hour meeting, but hearing how some of those great broadcasting minds think about broadcasting the most viewed event every year, I'm just like a sponge in the back of the room soaking that stuff up. Have
you applied any of that, those experiences to what you do now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the kind of thing where what excites me about anything is the learning, right? And that's one of the things that was most exciting about taking on this opportunity, was just having a chance to learn an entirely new world, right? And so, we think about, a lot of it comes to, a little bit of the storytelling that, like the level of detail that goes into something like the Super Bowl, where there's a storyline around the Super Bowl halftime show. There's a storyline around the broadcast itself, and then the amount of intricate planning that goes into like every camera shot of something like the Super Bowl, like players leaving the locker room is meticulously planned and rehearsed. Mm-hmm. But then there's these unknown elements to it that nobody can control, right? Of, like Tom Brady doesn't leave the locker room when he's supposed to. And like, you've got somebody in your ear freaking out. So you just got to roll with the punches and adapt.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway from working on something like the Super Bowl for 11 years is, you spend literally years putting a plan together for an event that's a week long and the game itself is one game day. And then as soon as you get into the thick of it, the plan goes to shit. And you just need to be able to roll with the punches and adapt. And, it's sort of, in some ways, it feels like that's kind of what every day is in what we've been doing for the last 2 years, like especially once COVID hits. It's just like you're constantly rolling the punches, constantly adapting. Like Brian could get a call tomorrow about like the next team opportunity that's going to make sense for us. And like we might not be planning at all for that today, but if it's the right opportunity and it fits with what where we're trying to grow the organization, we might jump into it. And like on a dime, like you plan, but you got to be ready to shift your plan when the situation changes.
Cool. Family, you said kids, how many?
Yeah, 3 kids, three girls.
How old? Oh, girl dad here too.
Yep.
Best thing changed me to my core.
Yeah.
Changed the way that I approach everything, changed the way that I act more than anything in front of her, obviously, but like even on camera, like it just changed me, which is like the best thing that could have happened to me.
Oh yeah, they're incredible. I've got 6, 4, and just turned 3.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And just got out of the terrible 2s.
Yeah, but we found 3 to actually be the worst.
Yeah, so you're getting into that one.
Yeah, but yeah.
Do they play video games?
A bit. Yeah, I tried to get them into Rocket League. They're more into just kind of whatever kind of games they find on like our phones. They've got kind of some learning games that they play, but it's interesting. They love watching games on YouTube. Like they're really
Roblox.
But even like they're really into My Little Pony, and my 6-year-old found a My Little Pony game on YouTube and was just watching it. And like it's moments like that not that, I mean, obviously we're here, we believe in the future of gaming and esports, but it's moments like that where my 6-year-old just found on her own a playthrough of a My Little Pony game, and she spent, she would have watched it for 3 hours if I didn't, turn it off after, after a little while. And it's those kinds of things. It's just like like kids my daughter's age are going to grow up in a world where like they really won't, from an entertainment standpoint, they won't know the difference between traditional sports and esports or it's just going to be what they want to watch.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And to me, and I'm very familiar with My Little Pony, Celestia. Who else? Twilight Strudel, Sprinkle Sprankle. I don't know.
Twilight Sparkles.
Yeah, what's it again? It's Twilight Sparkle, right?
I know nothing about any of these.
No
things.
kids yet, Brian?
No.
Well, I like to say the names wrong intentionally,
so
my kids correct me, so I know them well.
One of the things that I used to do with my brother, who's 10 years younger than me, is that we lived in a condo growing up, and the living room was like right next to everything was so close. But my brother would be watching Pokemon, and I'd be getting dressed like in the hallway, like in my closet, and then I would hear something, and I would walk in, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, is Pikachu about to do some electrical shit?" He'd be like, "Yeah, he's about to do this." I'm like, "Shut up, no one cares," just straight bully stuff. But then I'd be like, "I'm just kidding," but it was fun. What about you? Like before this, you say you were in finance, New York. How? Tell me a little bit about. I love that stuff.
See, this is not fair. So he went first because he has like the sexy working on the Super Bowl, the draft. I was preparing like quality of earnings analysis for some crazy
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I'll talk for 5 minutes about like making sure that like the bus showed up on time at 5 a.m. So the big shots can get out. Like I'll talk about that for 15 minutes. If it tees you up, right?
You'd be surprised how many people that watch this show are more into the boring stuff than the thing that they get to see, because the things that they get to experience and see and the fun part, like they get it, they see it, amazing. But more than often, everybody that watches this is curious, right? Like curiosity about the inner workings of esports, the inner workings of a business just in general. Like you'd be surprised. There needs a podcast. A podcast is needed. Don't call me. I'll be a guest, but I'm not an expert, right? On the inner workings of what it truly makes at this day and age esport, right? When I was doing it right before my exit, like it was just like 2 + 2 = 4, and that's it, right? There was no analysis, there was no predictions, there was no projections. Like that in my brain did not exist. So when you get into these conversations about like, well, what are the projections? What's in the pipeline? What sponsors are coming down? Who's interested? Like that sort of thing. I'm just like, bah. So continue, please.
I
Where'd you go to school? Start there.
So I went to high school in New Jersey. I went to an all boys Catholic high school, Del Barton, in Morristown, New Jersey. Ironically, I was not, like, it's a very athletic school, and I was not. I was like the closest I got to being athletic was singing the national anthem at the football game. I was like the theater guy, like not even close to.
You got the hair for it,
right? And so it's so funny. Like I see, like my alumni now, and they're like, you work in like kind of professional sports. They're like, you were like the theater. You were the lead in the musical, right?
Yeah.
So I went there. And
wait, whoa, time out, Matt, press pause.
Oh no.
What? First of all, what musical?
The Pirates of Penzance, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan musical.
Okay. What? Tell me, like, what's that like?
Can we go to college now?
Yeah, let's go to college.
Let's go to college because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
And I also went to a Catholic school. It was co-ed, but I did go to Catholic school from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade, and then spent a year in public school, and then came to the United States. But very familiar. Wait, did the nuns?
No, we had no nuns.
Priests.
Monks.
Monks. Did they beat you up?
They did not beat me up.
Man, Mexican nuns don't play. They don't play. I'm gonna be honest. They don't play. Like I don't feel bad talking about it because they're probably they're visiting God right now probably. But at the time, like I got hit with the meter rules. They used to pull my hair from here. Like, and look, I'm not saying I was a saint. Obviously, I was getting hit, right? Like it's but it was very violent. The school that I went to, these little tiny nuns, they just didn't give a shit. They would whip you with like whatever they had. I'm talking about it casually, and you guys are like, "Oh my God, that's like my kid would never go to that school." You hear that, Mom, Dad? Can't believe you guys said. All right, so Catholic school, college.
Then went to the University of Pennsylvania down in Philadelphia. And graduated in 2007 and moved to New York. And then the recession happened, and I saw a good chunk of my fellow graduates who were very smart people, way smarter than I was, just get laid off right and left. And I was just grateful to have a job. And so
at the time, what was the job?
So I was doing private equity consulting.
What does that mean?
So basically I worked at a company called KPMG, and I would be, or our firm was hired to do due diligence on a business. So if they were, looking to acquire, a company, we would come in and, do a full, evaluation of the earnings and the performance of the business. And so that's what I did for 10 years. And great experience, but this is more fun.
Yeah, way more fun.
Way more fun.
Yeah,
But it it takes having that discipline and that focus, because that's obviously a very intense and I would say very involved experience to then be able to have fun like this, right? To be able to create the success and build a version 1, because you have that experience and that background to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, being partners with Gary and his view on content. Obviously, being Ashley Midnight being employee number 2. Your approach to content, you can tell that you guys are actually striving for that. And I'm not talking about shit about anybody else that isn't doing it. Sort of talking shit about them who isn't doing it. But what's your approach with content? Like, how do you guys view that?
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you mentioned Gary, because the first time we met with him in person, it was September of 2019, and we sat with him, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, you don't have to do it my way just because I'm an investor in this team. I have strongly held beliefs about content, and I'll tell you everything I can and guide you where I can, but ultimately you carve your own path." And I really respected that from somebody as accomplished, particularly in that space as he is. And so for us, it's always been about taking the things about the Gary V content model that makes sense for our organization and for what we're trying to do. And there are a lot of things that I think really had a major impact on us from the early days, right? Like his philosophy in a lot of ways boils down to like, just go do it. Don't wait until you have the perfect studio built out and all the staff and all the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And that really inspired us to do some of the things that I think got us some traction in the early days, when it was like literally just Ashley and I, and we would just turn on a crappy camera in a badly lit conference room and talk to however many fans Rokkr didn't even exist, however many fans COD-MN had at the time, about what we were doing in free agency. And, we would say what we could, but, we didn't like show the chart or anything. But, we just tried to think about like if I was a fan, what would I want to hear? What would I want to hear people talk about? And so, we talked about our general approach. We talked about some of like the rules around free agency and the transition from CWL to CDL, that we kind of looked around and like nobody was talking about them. And there was like outside of like Reddit threads, and we were like, hey, like let's just fire up the camera and talk about this stuff. And I think without Gary's influence, we might not have, we might have been like, oh, maybe we should do this. But with Gary,
you would have waited, I think. Yeah,
like Gary's like I don't know if it's the angel or the devil, but Gary's on the shoulder
bit
being
of
like,
bit of both,
being like, just fucking do the thing.
Yeah.
But it's all, it's a balance, right? Like we've had, like Gary's style is very much like go fast, like, not necessarily focused on production quality of the story, and the storytelling is super important. Yeah. And we find that balance, right? Because we have people on our content team that, want to see more higher quality stuff, and we have to pick, we're trying to be very strategic about like where it makes sense to do like an awesome hype video.
We also have a Roger.
Yeah. Like where it makes sense to do like an awesome hype video, and where it makes sense for it to be like just the quick video that's shot on the phone of the winning moment when we beat FaZe, which like I took and I kind of fucked it up. Yeah. So I might not be allowed to shoot content at Trips anymore.
How'd you mess it up?
So when we were going into the last rotation, after Standy won his 1v1 by basketball court, Joe Fries, who I know has been on this podcast, he was back by the dugout shooting the coaches. He went to run up and make sure he got like a shot of the stage if we won. So like, this, like when I'm at events, like my joke is like I'm also a content intern, right? Like I'm walking around with my phone. I'm just trying to get as much shit as I can. Yeah. I've got a funny story about our experience at Iceland that relates to that. But anyway, so like I run up to the stage and like I'm standing next to Joe and he's got the mega nice camera, and I've got my phone and I'm trying to make sure I got like the right moment, but I can't see any of the gameplay. So I don't know what's going on. So I'm like trying to do it in like 10 seconds, start, stop. And like my start stop was right at, so like we got like a second of like attached standing up being like, yeah. And that was it. So like we still posted it, but like in the comments, it was like, man, you guys screwed up the video. And I think I still have to go and reply and be like, yeah, that was me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. I think in situations, just let it record and then edit it after. Just don't stop and start. Just stay there.
I learned that lesson the hard way last night. Right, Raul?
Yeah,
Raul, shout out Raul, one of our content guys that's here on the trip. He's been silently judging me for that moment.
Yeah,
he hasn't said it, so I appreciate that.
Hey, look, it's you would think that it's something that should just come natural, but it's not. Like if you're not a content creator, you don't know when. Right, you don't know what is like what angle, what's gonna look good, and it's repetitiveness. So I give you props for that. I see the C in my CEO stands for camera guy sometimes. Content executive officer.
And in a lot of ways, it's just like I used to say when people would ask me what my like day to day was. We've evolved past that because we've hired a lot of amazing people. But in the early days, it was my joke was my job is whoever we're gonna hire next. Because we were full speed from day one, and we didn't want to let the fact that we hadn't hired a staff yet be an excuse for anything, right? And so even, like I was running the Twitter account for the first month, and
dude, props, man.
I mean, awesome. I'll say this: that was not a sustainable social media strategy, and like fortunately, we got Ashley on board very quick, about a month in, but. We didn't want to wait a month, right? And we knew it was too important to start interacting with fans. And even in, like my schedule was basically from like 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. every night was like going through and like liking and replying to every single person that had commented on our posts. Because my thinking was anybody that cares enough about the fact that there's a Call of Duty franchise coming to Minnesota to tweet at us or comment on it, like that person needs some sort of response.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of GIFs and emojis just because I probably didn't have the lingo down at that point.
Dude, it's cool. It's better. It's better if you don't lingo, right?
Yes.
Like it just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you don't want it to come off as a try hard. Like no,
Yeah.
I even sometimes feel weird, like no cap, vibing. What else is there? No cap, drip. Like still to this day, I don't get drip. Okay, mind you, your man here has been drippy since 1997. All right, but what that means, still don't know.
I still remember when you were obviously. I think I was. You were monitoring or running the Twitter. I had access to it. And it was, and you're like, hey, there's this woman named Midnight who's this like big Call of Duty individual. She's from Minnesota. She lives in Minnesota, and she's a huge Vikings fan. And we were just
huge Vikings fan.
And we were like, this is amazing. And obviously, we didn't know her at the time, and we got to know her, and she is amazing. She is absolutely amazing.
100%.
And we were just like, how did we not know about this in advance?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like amazing.
One of the funny things I remember so vividly, we were at the Atlanta Owl event, July 4th. We had just announced the formation of the team, and we're sitting in the audience, and we're like, oh, hey, Midnight commented on our thing. Like, oh man, we gotta figure out who we talk to get in touch with her. So it was those early, some of those stories from the early days
that whole week that you guys finally reached out. She's like, all right, they said this. What should I say? And I'm like, well, I mean, you got it. Just tell them who you are.
She was talking to you at the same time?
No, she was just asking for my advice because by that time she had already moved.
Got it.
Yeah. And I'm like, Mid, just go for it. Just like you are fit for it. Don't worry about what you're saying, how you're saying it. You know more about this than they will. Trust me. Just go in there and be yourself. And then she's like, okay, so they asked me for this, and that. I'm like, all right, cool, that's that. And it's like, I'm like, man, listen to me. You need to get in there, and you got to tell them what to do. Don't ask, and don't wait for somebody to say, hey, what should we do? Go in there and command the way that you know how to do. Yep. I'm like, you've been with me for 10 years. The only survivor of that's been 2010. You know how we do things. Just go in there and do the same thing. Don't ask. Don't wait for somebody. Just show initiative every single step of the way.
And I mean, that is truly what we needed and what we still need today, but especially at that point where we were. And there's some things, and I think we talked about this on the Rokkr podcast, but this might be the first time we've said this publicly. When we were going to that first CDL free agency, we were coming at it from sort of a traditional sports mentality, right? Of like, okay, we need to hire a GM. The GM picks the coach picks the players. And so like we were interviewing GM types and coaches, and like we were trying to be respectful of guys on teams that were still playing, because we didn't, we knew champs was going on and all that. And like finally Ashley kind of tapped us on the shoulder and said like, hey, let me tell you about how it works. All right. Like if you hire the wrong coach or GM type, you're going to have trouble getting the right players.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, like tell us more. And at the same time, we were kind of recognizing that turnaround between the two leagues was just like, it was literally 2 weeks. And as a result of what Ashley sat down and coached us on, we pivoted, and she, I think, as probably most people that watch us know, like she ran our free agency that first year. And after there were a lot of players that didn't want to come to Minnesota that first year. Yeah. But after we signed our first trio, Celia Salt and Goddard X were the first 3 that we got under contract. Then we brought on Saint and Jake Troba, and now they've both been amazing. Saint's an awesome coach. Jake is still helping coach the Rokkr team, but is also grown into be essentially our GM and picks the players across, works with our coaches to identify talent across all our rosters. Yeah. So we've been very fortunate to hire some incredible people in all facets. But I mean, back to your point, like we really needed that coaching from Ashley to say like, hey guys, this is how Call of Duty works. You're new here. Listen up.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she found a good family for sure. Because it's easier for me. Like when Flamesword left, I'm like, all right, he's a grown dude. He's gonna find his way. He's gonna find. When Ashley left, I'm like, all right, anything you need, hit me up. Like I knew that she was gonna hit the ground running just because she's smart and she knows she's been the experience that she has. One as a content creator, and then obviously coming into her own for the manager and the content manager, like that sort of thing. Like it's just I knew that she was gonna do fine. But I'm like, anything you need, let me know. If anybody says anything, fucking let me know. I got your back. We're good. But I'm super happy that she found the family that she did. More importantly, for her, like the happiness for her was the fact that it was a Minnesota Vikings, arm in a way. So, have you guys given her front row tickets, the back? Has she met all her favorite players?
She can come to whatever game she wants to.
Good. Any closing comments that you guys have? I can sit here and ask you guys questions for forever, but anything that you guys want to say?
Well, thankfully, we're not playing you today, so I can say we want to win, and we're going to beat Dallas. That's what's going to happen today.
Good, yeah, we beat Dallas. Because if Dallas is up, whoever wins that plays us, right? Or something like that. I don't even know. I'm literally just like going one by one. We have to beat Ultra. That's all I'm thinking about. Beating Ultra.
The fake North.
The fake North.
Ultra.
Yeah.
The fake North.
Like Ultra. Yeah.
They've had our number the past couple matches though, so like I've toned down the North, like they've got that title from us. We gotta whether we match up with them at some point this tournament or next one.
Look, I don't know what happened,
beat them before
both
the season's
northern
over.
Teams, both purple. Like, I don't know what's going on right there. I think you guys should have it out. Like, whoever wins most, like, next season gets to change the other team's color. Maybe not pick it, but they get to keep the purple.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about the purple, right? Like, I remember so vividly where I was. I was in a Best Buy parking lot. Yeah. When Shad Smith from CDL called me to be like, hey, just a heads up, there's actually going to be 3 purple teams.
Oh, Gorillas.
and Gorillas.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, we thought we were the only purple team. That was, like, super important to us from day one. Yeah. And, purple's a unique color unless a fourth of the league is purple. Yeah. But we've mostly gotten over that 2 years later.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, it was good branding. I liked it. The number one thing that I looked at was like branding, like what logos are coming out, right? So we had the Huntsman originally, but obviously Surge has a really, really good logo, and then Minnesota Mutineers has like a really dope colorway. Atlanta face up to Chicago, obviously variations of the parent company, so that's good. But yours was good. Vikings, obviously, like it was like perfect almost in my opinion. So kudos to you guys, whoever came up with that. I'm still looking for the guy that came up with the Outlaws logo, because that to me is like the best logo in all of esports. I mean, obviously it's just such a well thought out logo. So if the employee out there, like, I know that you might get in trouble, just reach out to me, man. Got a job for you. Always.
I'll shout out Dane Kuhn, the original designer of the Minnesota Rokkr logo.
Awesome.
Actually just left our organization to move to Seattle, but
not to Seattle Surge.
Not to Seattle Surge, but he will always have a special place in our hearts for. I'm wearing the hat, right? Yep.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Making sure.
I'm tapping like a Nike logo or something.
It's like Burger King. You're welcome. All right, shout out to your sponsors or anything?
We just did a big deal with USAA that we're really excited about. Just announced it a couple weeks ago, and they're on the jersey and on the in-game jersey. We've got a great new partnership with Laconia Brewery. We got a beer collab, Final Circle Shandy. Mm-hmm. Pretty sweet. And great partnership with Rokkr, Nature's Way. Those are all our main ones.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate the opportunity to shout them out.
Oh, you kidding me? Of course.
I'm sponsored by my wife, Jen.
Yes, shout out to Jen. Thank you so much. Please renew the contract next year. Please extend it. So. My man needs as much support as he can.
We got Scuff too, of course.
Scuff, shout out to Scuff. Yeah. Duncan, where are you? Where have you been? Anyway. That is going to do it for this episode number 99 of the Eavesdrop Podcast. Just so you guys know, 100 is not going to happen, but 101 is definitely going to happen. I'm going to save the 100 for the for the special moment. So from 99, we're going to go to 101. It's not a mistake. That's how I intended it to be, okay? Just because timing and all that stuff. Either way, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you so much to the sponsors for showing up. Leave a comment in the description down below who you want to see next. Comment section down below, and we'll make it happen. We'll see you guys next time. Maddie, hit him with the music.